Well, last summer, an estimated 18.4 million hectares of land burned across Canada in the worst wildfire season this country has ever seen. From the Tantalin fire in Nova Scotia to the Kelowna fires in British Columbia, smoky skies were the norm from coast to coast to coast. And as this El Nino winter brings with it warmer temperatures and a lack of snow, could we be in for an even worse wildfire season this summer? Magna Zahara is the program manager with FireSmart Canada. She joins us now from Winnipeg. Magna, we appreciate this. So obviously it's been a bit of an odd winter, hasn't it? I mean, some precipitation now we're seeing in Nova Scotia, but overall across the country, it has been pretty much a lack of snow. How do you characterize that situation, and what are your expectations for this summer when it comes to wildfires?
Thanks, Anthony. You're right. We are experiencing droughts in many parts of the country. Maybe Nova Scotia might not agree right now, but in other parts, especially in the west, it has been dry, very low snowpack. And so, of course, that's going to have impacts on likely more ignitable forests, more ignitable landscapes, grasslands as well. And of course, it also doesn't give the right recovery from the previous season. So typically we would rely on the winter to settle down and extinguish the fires that were still going in the fall. And with this low precipitation, that's definitely going to have a negative impact.
Yeah, and some of the latest numbers that I saw, and some parts are actually worse than this, but 70% of the country is what it considers abnormally dry. So that is quite concerning for a lot of people. And in terms of, a lot of people are still cleaning up and dealing with the ramifications of last year. Talk about the impact of that.
Certainly, I think the cleanup is going to be ongoing. That's for sure. What we in FireSmart, what we like to talk to people about at any point in time is how they can prepare for the potential of wildfire in their area, and what can they do on their property. So that's really our focus, and our method of education is through programming that allows people to do assessments on their properties and then ultimately focus on removing any flammable materials that are in and around or on and around their homes, so that if there are potential for wildfires in their area, it really reduces their risk. So that's really what we focus on at this point in time. We can't predict what the spring will bring in any real fashion or certainty. So all that we can really do at this point is really focus on preparing and mitigating our risks.
In terms of the vulnerable areas, there are obviously a lot of parts which have seen forest fires in the past. In terms of the onus on the homeowner, and responsibility for levels of government, other organizations to help out. Where do you see the distinction in some ways? Because a lot of people, you are obviously with the weather, you can't control everything, but you can mitigate the risk as you mentioned. Talk about some of that.
Absolutely, and that's really our focus. Is there are things that we as individuals, as municipalities, local governments can do. And that is really reducing flammable materials on properties and in the wildland urban interface. So when we talk to homeowners or residents, it's all focused around what we call the home ignition zone, which goes up to 30 meters around the perimeter of their structure, of their home itself. And with the main focus being the home itself and 1.5 meters out or 5 feet. And in that sense, we talk about what materials is your home built with, can it be upgraded to less flammable materials, and then also removing anything in that zone so that when embers accumulate, which they will if there's a fire nearby, they have nothing to ignite, which ultimately is what impacts ignition of homes. So whether that's the homeowner, resident, in more common areas, the municipality needs to take some ownership of removing flammable materials, and neighborhoods coming together and working with their local fire departments to really do focused cleanup, as well as thinning and pruning the vegetation, and we'll call it, in the area.
Well, unfortunately, we have to leave the conversation there, Meghna. We appreciate your time and your insight. That is Meghna Zahara, the program manager with Fire Smart Canada, joining us from Winnipeg. Thank you again.